If I go way back, you know, I think not to go all full childhood, but like started out tracing cartoons, coloring books. Dude, Hanna-Barbera and all those dudes were like my guys, right? Like I would trace and learn all that stuff. But like I can literally pinpoint 8th grade, I got into graffiti. This dude that sat behind me was drawing these bubble letters. I'm sure some of you have seen that book, like the old Subway art books or spray can art books that they used to sell way back when.
Yeah, weren't they called spray can art or whatever?
Yeah, spray can art and Subway art. Yeah,
yeah.
Like that kind of kicked that off. But anyways, that dude, me and him ended up becoming really good friends. You know, usually when you're in high school, someone gives you this pamphlet of like, what do you want to do with your life? Like, do you want to go to the army? Do you want to fucking learn how to build motors and engines? You want to be a scientist? Like, anyways, there was a graphic design component in this book, and it had a picture of this dude on a computer doing, I think he was doing like a character or something like that. So it probably was a bit more, I got fooled by taking what I was doing with a coloring book, someone doing it digitally. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, you can do that for real? Like someone can go to school for that? So I think that's what really kicked off of like graphic design. It was labeled graphic designer, so that's what I was like, well, yeah, that's what I want to be. I'm gonna be a graphic designer.
I'll do that.
I never knew about a creative director or even now like a VP of creative. Like I didn't know any of that stuff way back when. I thought just a graphic designer was a trade job. And I didn't know you needed specific programs to do what I saw on this fucking pamphlet. I didn't know any of that. So being from Orange County, whoever might be watching this from Orange County, Golden West College, community college, had a digital design whole kind of curriculum. The school part was a good entry just to know like, hey, there's InDesign that you might have to learn there for this reason, right? Yeah. Laying stuff out. There's Photoshop that does all this part very pixel based, and then there's Illustrator that does all this other kind of vector based stuff. But learning that, like to get a foundation from a community college, that definitely helped. You're not going to learn how to design like Lincoln in college, you know what I mean, in those classes. But if I were to watch videos of you guys doing that, like I feel like I would take a lot more off of what I would see on YouTube than, than I would get in class.
One of the downfalls of like Instagram and the internet and things like that now is that you're getting so many people focused on one thing, whether it's like the iPad and Procreate or whatever it is, that if you don't go to school and say you do just dive into the internet and kind of YouTube and things like that, make sure you dive into all the tools that you might need to be a well-rounded designer when it comes to being a designer. You know, if you want to be an illustrator and you got those skills and those talents, cool. Maybe you can just focus on something like that. But we talked about, you know, like even nowadays hiring somebody to hire a graphic designer now that has skills to lay out a 200-page catalog, do a t-shirt graphic, do a logo, like all those things, do a pattern, like
very rare,
super
very rare,
100%,
especially InDesign. I feel like maybe some of those things you can get together, but then you throw InDesign in it, and then you drop half of the people. You know that.
You know, to your point, get really good at either illustration, and that's what their whole portfolio of Instagram is, or animation or whatever. I know people that are great animators, but because they're missing the design fundamentals, can't put something together. They need all the assets given to them, and then they can kill it.
So this guy started out as in graphic design and then transitioned to animation. So it's very obvious that he has a total eye for layout, everything in a motion graphic, you know, which
I mean, that's like part of the journey is like taking those jobs where you might not, you know, you're doing layout and you hate layout, but it's a job, and you learn how to do that, and you can go to the next one. And I mean, that's kind of, I was just bouncing around. Like I'd lay out newspapers because I went to community college too for a little bit.
Yes.
So I learned InDesign, Illustrator, and then, and then somehow I got into animation.
Since I started at Monster, which has been about 6 years, you know, I fast forward, I started as an art director at Monster, and I would do, believe it or not, when I first started there, I didn't work on Monster itself. Actually, we had a whole kind of stable, and we still have them, but we call them our strat brands or strategic brands. But it's like all the international stuff, like brands like Burn and Predator and all these other brands, Relentless, that we have in like the UK and across the other side of the world. I would just work on that, and that's kind of where I kind of cut my teeth at Monster to kind of learn the lay of the land, whether it's product shoots or I would fly out and actually shoot talent and all that, because as big as Monster is, it still runs pretty slim.
Pretty lean,
like pretty startup-ish. So